The information provided in this podcast is alleged and based on our understanding and research at the time of recording. We make every effort to ensure the accuracy of the information presented, but we cannot guarantee that all data is entirely accurate or complete. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of the hosts and contributors. Previously on e-LIES-abeth. In her short 30 years, Elizabeth Teckenbrock has lived a lot of lives.
So that was the story that she said. She was in foster care with her sister. They were with separate, families.
She says on these stories that she was abused and all this stuff. No, she wasn't.
Let's start with Liz telling me that she owned, I think, 6 ophthalmology facilities.
She told the whole cosmetology school that her oldest son's dad, was dead, deceased.
By 2016, she moved to Florida, met and married a man named Chris, and had her second child. One moment she was married to Chris, and the next she was visiting her family and friends back home in Indiana with a new fiancé, a doctor, Andrew Cormier, who had no idea that the words he was about to repeat on his wedding day would become the blueprint for his unraveling. When we spoke to Liz's friends in Indiana, the breakup with Chris felt sudden. But so did the start of that relationship, a pattern we'll come to recognize. Back then, she went by Nicole on Instagram, one of the many identities tied to one of the many accounts. Because if there's one thing Elizabeth has ghosted more than people she owes money to, it's her old social media accounts. On July 14th, 2015, she posted that people date recklessly. The photo is just a caption that says,
"I hate dating. I hate the way people date now. I just want to be with the person I'm going to be with. I just want to know who I'm going to marry and start working towards building that life together. People nowadays date recklessly. We treat each other like we are trying on shoes. No matter how well something fits, we will still want to see how we look in something else. I want no part of that."
By August 6, 2015, it looked like she found that person. It was the hard launch of Chris. And hard launch it was. Almost every photo on her feed was Chris. Chris with her, Chris with the dog, Chris with her son. On August 23, 2015, she posted a photo of Chris in bed with her son and dog, writing, "Good morning from my little family." Something their little family knew but had been keeping a secret from social media at that time was that it was about to get a little bit bigger. On September 16, 2015, a pregnancy announcement photo was posted. It was of Liz, her son, and Chris all on the bed, each with a book in their hands. Her son's was How to Be a Big Brother, Elizabeth's What to Expect When Expecting, and Chris was holding Dad's Guide to Pregnancy for Dummies. On the nightstand to the left of them, a big sign that read, Baby O arriving May 2016. Over the next 9 months, she shared all the milestones, baby bumps, the emotional ups and downs of pregnancy, and sweet pictures of things that Chris would do for her, like leave her a note with his visa on top saying, "Get your nails done." At the beginning of May 2016, their baby girl joined the family, and by the end of May, Elizabeth posted a boomerang of her sparkly new ring announcing her engagement. Throughout the year, the typical Instagram photo updates followed.
Love my family. Pizza and board game night with my hubby.
Then came a frantic post followed by a GoFundMe. The implication, their baby girl was seriously ill and hospitalized. Friends we spoke to remembered thinking it was cancer, though, to be fair, that may have been an easy mistake to make given the sheer number of fundraisers and shifting ailments over the years. Regardless, help for baby B and family popped up, received donations, and then vanished. Just as quickly as it appeared, it was deleted. In its place, a photo of the baby with an IV and a caption casually clarifying it was just a stomach virus.
After a long night at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, we are finally taking our princess home. It turns out it was just a stomach virus, so we just have to wait it out. I'm so glad she's okay. I feel so bad that she had to go through all the testing.
Life went on, and up until her final post on that account, dated November 27th, 2017, Elizabeth and Chris appeared to be a picture-perfect couple, happily planning to say I do. According to her Pinterest board at that time, she had her heart set on a winter wedding. Tartan accents, sparkly red bottom Christian Louboutins. It looked like something out of a bridal magazine. Dreamy, detailed, and fully imagined. But it wasn't to be. Pinned and planned, sure, but yet another reminder that on Pinterest you can map out every detail of the big day, except the part where it actually happens. A wedding was on the horizon, though, just not the one that she had been planning, and not with the groom she'd spent the last 2 years showing off on social media. It was Dr. Andrew Cormier, and according to Andrew, the two met sometime around August or September of 2017. Like Liz's relationship with Chris, this one also moved quickly. They were engaged by October that same year and tied the knot on March 9th, 2018.
So I quit being her friend because I was going through a dark time, and she just got with Andrew and they got married. And it was so funny because she just came down here to visit, and we were hanging out in September of 2017. And then bam, she's married to Andrew. And I was like, where did this guy come from? Like, you just were sleeping with a guy up here in Indiana. Like, what?
Elizabeth's version of the timeline is slightly different. She claims they didn't meet until November, started dating in January, and were married 2 months later. No matter whose version you want to believe, it moved quickly, but so do most storms. This wouldn't be the first time Andrew and Elizabeth didn't see eye to eye on how things unfolded, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. Because along with the different relationship timeline, Elizabeth has also alleged that in those early days, Andrew tried to enroll her in a Scientology course. Andrew emphatically denies that claim, and so does his family. They insist they have no ties to Scientology whatsoever and say the accusation was not just false, it was calculated. I suppose at the end of the day, it's her word against Andrew's and his family's, but not only are we dealing with an unreliable narrator when it comes to Elizabeth, Scientology is not a group to be rebuffed. If Andrew was secretly a Scientologist, shouting "I'm not" from the rooftops would likely trigger some sort of blowback. Because if there's one group that doesn't take public denial lightly, it's Scientology. Whether or not Scientology was ever in the picture, the truth at that time was that both Elizabeth and Andrew were focused on sharing a life together and a future. Step 1, a new house. At the time of meeting Elizabeth, Andrew already owned a townhouse, but according to him, it didn't suit Elizabeth's 2 children. So in April 2018, they decided to rent a house together. This was move number 1. There would be 6 more in 3 short years. Andrew claims they only stayed there for about a month, and by May 2018, they had relocated again, this time to an apartment complex closer to his office. As we mentioned earlier, Andrew is a doctor, an ophthalmologist to be exact. Elizabeth took on the role of office manager, handling schedules, patients, and paperwork. To anyone watching, she was the doting wife helping her husband build his dream. In reality, she was laying the groundwork to dismantle it. As Elizabeth took over the day-to-day, Andrew turned his focus to expanding the practice and signed a contract that would change everything. Now, if you're someone who loves a deep dive, receipts, screenshots, and all the messy details, Andrew does go much further into this part of his story on his TikTok series. I highly recommend checking it out if you want to hear directly from him. I also want to make note, we did offer for Andrew to participate in this series. He politely declined, but gave us his support moving forward. For the sake of this series, we're going to hit you with the Cliff's Note version, the most important details you need to know. For everything else, you can go and hear from Andrew directly. On March 26, 2018, Andrew signed what he thought was a straightforward 3-year lease for a commercial space, finally setting down roots for his growing practice. But just a few months later, everything started to shift. The building's owner, whom he refers to as Mr. Khan, suddenly became gravely ill, and by early August, Mr. Khan had passed away. During this time, updates on Mr. Khan's condition weren't coming from an attorney or a state representative. They were coming from another tenant in the building, a woman Andrew refers to as Mrs. S. According to Andrew, it was Mrs. S who broke the news of Mr. Khan's death and just as quickly informed him that she had purchased the building. She told Andrew that moving forward, rent payments should be made directly to her and asked him for August's rent. Andrew replied he had already paid it. He'd left the envelope under Mr. Khan's office door while he was in the hospital. The whole situation seemed off to him because he assumed if she's now the owner of the building, she should have access to Mr. Khan's office to retrieve the check. At this point, he asked Mrs. S for documentation proving her ownership of the property, as well as an updated lease reflecting the change. It was a few weeks later Mrs. S.'s attorney sent Andrew a new lease to sign and have notarized, but the lease was a major red flag. It had a shorter term, and the rent was double the original amount. When Andrew contacted the attorney's office, he wasn't able to speak to a lawyer, just a paralegal. He explained that he had already had the agreement signed, and if this new ownership was legit, they should have had that in their records. They asked for a copy of his original agreement, which Andrew said he declined. His reasoning was if Mrs. S. truly owned the building, she should already have that paperwork. The back and forth dragged on for months. Mrs. S.'s side claimed they didn't have a copy of the original lease and refused to issue an updated one. Andrew, for his part, stood firm, insisting he wouldn't pay rent without documentation confirming who actually owned the building. He never sent over a copy of his lease, a choice he defends as something about the whole situation didn't feel right and was prepared to let a court sort it out. A decision that was also supported by Elizabeth, who told him not to worry, she had a connection who could help. Her friend Lauren, who happened to be a lawyer. The stress was mounting, legal confusion, unanswered questions, and a business hanging in the balance. But at the peak of all the uncertainty came at least one piece of good news. Elizabeth was pregnant with their first child together. As the family was set to grow, so did Andrew's ambitions. He opened a second practice, and the couple moved again, this time to a larger home to accommodate both the new baby and his expanding business needs. By December 2018, Elizabeth had reached out to her attorney friend Lauren, who agreed to step in and assist with the office situation. Andrew said he was optimistic at the beginning. Lauren was keeping both him and Elizabeth in the loop, claiming she had filed a motion in landlord-tenant court, and they were simply waiting on a court date. But by January 2019, before that date was set, Andrew received a final eviction notice, granted effective immediately. He said he was stunned because Lauren had just told them they were waiting for a court date. Instead, he's given just 3 days to vacate. And while he's trying to get to the bottom of it, Lauren seems to vanish. All of a sudden, no calls, no responses to texts or emails. In a scramble, Andrew contacts an individual he calls Jeff, who originally set up all of his office equipment, and asks if he could store it for him until he could figure out his next move. Jeff agrees, and Andrew is officially evicted. Post-eviction, Lauren reappears. She reaches out to Elizabeth with an apology, claiming she had a family emergency, but insists there's still a way forward. According to Lauren, there were grounds for a wrongful eviction lawsuit, and when she conveyed that to Mrs. S.'s attorney, Mrs. S. was open to a settlement. Andrew agreed to move forward, but weeks went by with no progress. Lauren, again, was inconsistent, scheduling meetings and then canceling at the last minute. At one point, she claimed her husband was in a coma and later that he had died. Despite the chaos, Andrew believed a settlement was coming, which couldn't have come at a better time because in March 2019, Elizabeth gave birth to their first child together, a baby girl. According to Andrew, things seemed to be going well in their relationship at the time. There weren't any major flags aside from Elizabeth's spending habits. She was constantly shopping, making expensive purchases, and he felt like no matter how much he earned, the money was gone as quickly as it hit the account. Trying to get ahead, Andrew had been stashing away cash over several months. But one day, it was gone. He confronted Elizabeth, who was the only person who knew where he kept it, and she denied taking it. Instead, she claimed she had told her best friend where the stash was hidden. Andrew calls her Erin in his series, so we will too, to avoid any confusion if you're following along with his series as well. Elizabeth said Erin was in an abusive relationship and must have taken it to escape, an explanation that in time would start to sound eerily familiar. Andrew was shocked, basically saying if she needed help, we would have given it to her, no questions asked. Why did she feel like she had to steal from us? Elizabeth said she would handle it, and later, Andrew received a message from Erin apologizing. She claimed she didn't know what else to do and promised to pay the money back. So now we're waiting on not only Erin to pay them back, but the eviction settlement as well. Elizabeth claimed that Lauren had been in touch and would drop off the final paperwork at their house while they were out of town for a wedding. That way, when they returned, it would be waiting, and a check would follow shortly after it was filed. But when they got home, there was nothing. Elizabeth called Lauren, no answer. But then a text followed. Lauren said something had come up again, and she'd meet them later that week. Andrew was emotionally drained, spiraling from the confusion and the constant excuses. He couldn't understand why Lauren was such a flake, or why Elizabeth kept insisting that she was on it. And then, not long after, on September 13th, 2019, Andrew received something unexpected. An email forwarded by Elizabeth supposedly from Lauren. It was an email from the judge.
Hello, Lauren. Please find that I will approve the documents you submitted and you can proceed with giving the Cormiers their lawsuit money. I will get all the documents turned in on Monday and it should be good to go. Thank you for being so patient with me and getting back to you. Talk to you soon.
Still a waiting game for the judge now, but progress. By early October 2019, in the midst of all this uncertainty and emotional chaos, Andrew alleges Elizabeth was ready to move again. He, on the other hand, was not. This would be their fourth move, and he wanted to stay put until they could buy a home. But Elizabeth pushed back. She said she'd cover all the moving expenses, first and last month's rent, and damage deposit. She found a townhouse, they signed the lease and handed over a check, gave notice to the place they were living, and started packing. Days before the move, though, Andrew got a call from the realtor. Elizabeth's check had bounced. With nowhere else to go because the house they were moving from had new tenants moving in, Andrew scrambled to come up with the money himself, despite not wanting to move in the first place. By 2020, Andrew was only working out of his second location, which wasn't bringing in enough to cover debts or justify the expensive medical equipment he still had being stored by Jeff. Andrew decided the best thing to do would be to offload some of the equipment and reached out for help. Jeff said he had buyers lined up for 2 of the pieces, but claimed one machine needed repairs and requested $900 upfront to fix it. Andrew suggested just taking it out of the sales proceeds, but Jeff insisted on getting the money first. Eager to move things along, Andrew said, "Fine, where can we meet?" Jeff said he couldn't meet in person, but his wife could, though she'd feel more comfortable meeting with a woman due to a past domestic violence situation. So Elizabeth handled the drop-off. Keep in mind, this was around March 2020, right as COVID-19 lockdowns began. So once the hurdles of getting the equipment fixed and sold were out of the way, the next was working out how to get Andrew the money during lockdown. Just as there were with Lauren, Jeff had excuses. Issues with the bank, a missing branch manager, accounts on hold. If it wasn't that, it was Jeff's wife being unavailable to watch the kids for him to personally drop it off. Weeks passed. Finally, Andrew demanded a straight answer. Do you have the check or not? And Jeff stopped responding altogether. It was starting to feel like deja vu. But desperate for a resolution and against his better judgment, Andrew reached out to Lauren again, asking for legal help. He forwarded her every text, email, and message related to Jeff and the sale. Lauren said she'd draft a demand letter immediately, and not long after, Jeff finally responded and agreed to send the money. But he wanted to send it to the courts. At this point, we're going to put a pin in Jeff, but don't worry, he will be back. Fast forward to Father's Day weekend 2020. Elizabeth took a girls' trip, leaving Andrew to celebrate at home with their daughter alone, and when she came back, she said she wasn't feeling well. A short time later, she announced she was pregnant, with twins this time, a boy and a girl.
He said he thinks one boy and one girl, but the blood test will tell.
For real? I'm kind of super excited, laugh out loud. Probably should be nervous.
I'm not. He said this is going to be really, really hard on me. I can't answer right now. I'm on hold with the shot company to give them all my info and my card number to pay.
So bed rest when we get back, and I don't want you lifting or doing any strenuous activities.
Because of COVID restrictions, Andrew wasn't able to attend most of her appointments. He was, however, allowed at one ultrasound, which is where he noticed there was only one heartbeat. When he asked for confirmation that he was only seeing one, the ultrasound tech casually responded, Yep, just one. It wasn't the time or place to put anyone on the spot, so he didn't ask more questions. When he and Liz talked about it later, she told him she'd gone back to the doctor alone and found out there had been complications and that they lost one of the twins. By August 2020, as Andrew's office prepared to reopen, the Cormiers planned a trip to visit Elizabeth's family in Indiana. Conveniently, lawyer Lauren was in town too, visiting her own family and had the check for the equipment sale with her. Lauren said she could meet in person, but as I'm sure you already know, that never happened. Flight delays, last-minute issues, more excuses. By the time she finally was available, Andrew and Elizabeth were already back in Florida. So now they had to wait for her to return. With the office reopening as COVID restrictions were loosening, Elizabeth stepped down as office manager due to the pregnancy and the demands of their growing family. It also gave her time to focus on building her social media presence. She launched a cooking series and talked about writing a cookbook. But just as they were settling into a new rhythm, they were hit with another curveball. In September 2020, their landlords gave them notice that they were moving back into the house the Cormiers were currently renting. This meant move number 5 in just 2 years. The timing couldn't have been worse. Andrew was still waiting on the equipment sale, still waiting on the eviction settlement, still playing financial catch-up from the pandemic. Then, Elizabeth shared what she called a divine intervention. She alleged a close friend of hers from Indiana had passed away, and he left her $5,000. That money, she said, would cover the move and rent for the next 2 months. Like clockwork, just when things seemed like they might level out, a huge setback. Elizabeth told Andrew she wasn't feeling well and showed him a lump in her arm. She went to the doctor and told Andrew more tests were needed and the cost was going to be around $3,000. Without hesitation, he gave her the money. When the results came in, Elizabeth shared devastating news. She had cancer, lymphoma. Andrew was in disbelief. It was a lot to process and the beginning of what would become an incredibly difficult chapter. And if this were one of those choose-your-own-adventure books, the ending was not one he ever would have picked. At a time when emotions were already running high, another issue surfaced. The $5,000 Elizabeth supposedly inherited from her friend back home and used to cover rent for November and December bounced. When Andrew brought it up to Elizabeth, she was adamant the funds were received and there must be a misunderstanding. She assured him she'd reach out to the property managers and get it sorted. Shortly after, Elizabeth forwarded an email to Andrew from the rental company.
Dear Elizabeth, thank you for taking time on the phone today, and once again, I'm sincerely apologizing on behalf of our rental company. I just want to confirm what we discussed over the phone. I had adjusted your rental account, which will show effective usually within 48 hours. I submitted the charge with the website. You will have an available credit of $1,854, which should cover your credits as well as the payment made by Mr. Cormier of $1,000. I applied the extra $100 on behalf of our mistake and miscommunication. If there's anything you need in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. I will personally be watching this myself. Thank you, and I apologize again. Have a wonderful day.
They claimed it was a clerical error and everything was fine. Because of everything else on their plates at this point, Andrew couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't adding up. But Elizabeth didn't seem fazed. Her focus had already shifted. She was busy launching a Facebook group titled Elizabeth's Stage 4 Lymphoma Journey. It quickly became a space filled with emotional updates and photos documenting what she said was the fight of her life.
Update today. My breathing was better, so my lungs are opening. My doctor ordered me a better breathing machine. They said that this cancer has been spreading through my lungs for about 2 years without me noticing, which means we're pretty deep in with it. The case of lymphoma I have is rare. It started near my lungs, and because my lungs are already so far progressed, they said that the chances of me getting through chemo are essentially 20%. They will continue with the RCHOP treatments, and I will go on a transplant list.
It wasn't long before a GoFundMe was launched. The story of a young wife and mom fighting cancer while pregnant was emotionally gripping. It's the kind of story that pulls people in and opens their wallets. The donations started flowing, and soon the hashtag Cormier Strong was created and getting traction.
Update. We are going to try to describe this as best as possible for everyone to understand, posted by family. We requested Elizabeth's scans and blood work to be sent out to the Mayo Clinic for a second opinion. Their conclusion is the same. Yesterday, Elizabeth was administered cyclophosphamide, which is the second drug in the line of chemotherapy needed for Elizabeth's lymphoma. Yesterday, they were also able to take blood, get a urine sample, and administer an anti-nausea medication through her port. This medication is called e-LIES-abeth. We got the blood results this morning. CBC, white blood count, 620. It has to be over 1,000. Hemoglobin was a 4 and should be at least an 8. Platelets, 14,230, should be well above 20,000. The numbers they gave are the absolute lowest they should be. Elizabeth's are lower than that. They told us Elizabeth has a serious infection in her liver, and they have added Elizabeth to the liver transplant list. She has been given antibiotics. For now, our team of doctors informed us today that the issues with the liver and lungs brings the outcome lower and lower. This is an extremely scary time for our family and our friends. We are so appreciative of everyone who has reached out. We will need prayers and help more than ever during this time. Thank you, everyone. We are all hashtag Cormier Strong, and we will make this fight. We love Elizabeth.
Understandably, the news seemed to break her friends and family.
I recall the main incident of when she said she had cancer. This took the family by complete and total shock. I recall my aunt, which is her grandmother, calling us and informing us of the news, and it was just total meltdown for me. I thought, I was losing one of my best friends of my cousin. Immediately I went to can I do anything to help? Can I be a donor? Can I do this? I was looking for flights to get down to Florida. I was on the group chat text with the physicians, quote unquote, and it was just devastating. I thought we were going to lose her baby. I actually had a best friend who was suffering with breast cancer at that time, and during her GoFundMe that Elizabeth tried to do for herself, my friend with breast cancer donated $2,000 to this account and obviously got scammed, and since then has died. She succumbed from her cancer. So it's a very touchy subject for me. So yeah, I would say that everyone did believe her the first time.
But the last time I saw Liz was September of 2017. The last time I talked to her is 2019 maybe, shortly after her and Andrew got together. And then I ended up reaching back out to her when she got diagnosed with cancer, and I offered to help and go down there and just kind of help however I could. You need me to cook for you, I got you. You need me to clean your house, I got you. I'm free labor while you're going through chemo and stuff, because I generally thought that my friend was dying. I really did think that she was dead, completely dead. So there's that. I mean, I didn't hear from her. I thought for sure I would get a text from a family member, because I'm friends with her aunts on Facebook, and I believe I'm friends with her little sister as well, and then a few mutual friends. So I was oh, am I gonna get a text or a funeral info? What?
While everyone is praying for a miracle, Elizabeth's health took a sudden and severe turn. She told Andrew her doctors had delivered devastating news. The cancer had spread, and now she needed a liver transplant. With COVID restrictions still tight, Andrew wasn't allowed at her appointments, but she kept him updated through texts, providing him with lab results, treatment plans, and medication options. Although oncology is not remotely in Andrew's wheelhouse, he looked at the messages and felt something was off. The medications didn't match the diagnosis. And when he questioned the competency of her team, Elizabeth said she'd get a second opinion. Soon after, she came back with news. The medications had changed, and just like that, no more liver failure. No transplant needed. Crisis averted. As there seemed to be a silver lining with no liver transplant needed, the missed rent warnings were still coming in. However, every time Andrew got an alert, it was followed by an email from the rental company saying, "It's a glitch, disregard, everything is paid up to date." By early 2021, it was time for baby two's arrival. It was also the first time Andrew was allowed to be at the hospital. Now, I personally experienced having a baby during the COVID era, and so I want to paint a picture for those who may not have had the personal experience. During this time, mothers were generally only allowed one support person during delivery. And for myself and many other moms I know, that person was not immediately allowed in the hospital until all the admitting process had been completed. So while Elizabeth was checking in, Andrew, like many fathers at this time, was waiting in the parking lot, getting updates from Elizabeth, and waiting for the green light to enter. When it was go time, Elizabeth sent him this text.
Okay, are you inside? I need to tell my nurse to come get you.
Room 3?
Yes, hold on. She won't open because checking me.
They know you have cancer. Hello?
Yes, but I signed a form and they did also, so I can have a cancer-free birth. A joyful birth. Not talk about it or stress about it.
What the hell does that mean?
Hold on.
That's some bullshit.
Give me a second.
You have cancer, but we are going to ignore it?
A cancer-free delivery? He didn't understand it. He didn't like it, but he didn't want to cause stress. So he agreed, and soon after, another baby girl was born. Celebrations were brief, as there was the looming cloud of Elizabeth's chemo officially starting. The good news was that at this point, COVID restrictions started to ease, and Andrew could finally go with her to appointments. He was looking forward to being there in person to hear more about the treatment plan and have some of his questions answered. But when they pulled up to the first appointment, the office was closed. Elizabeth was flustered, claimed she mixed up the dates, and went into a panic attack, something Andrew said was a pattern anytime things did not go to plan or she was asked questions. The bad news kept coming. The next blow? Another email from the rental company. This time it wasn't about a missed payment. It was a 3-day eviction notice. Elizabeth said it was a mistake, and as the times before, Andrew got an email saying the rent system was glitching and everything was fine.
Hello, we've reached out to our attorney's office and the writ of possession along with the eviction will be cancelled. We have credited this month's rent for all of the trouble and you can be assured this will never happen again. I've been asked to follow up in an email. Thank you. Fully legit and real property management company.
But on May 3rd, a final eviction notice appeared taped to their door. Instead of fighting it, they moved in with Elizabeth's grandparents. Move number 6. Andrew felt like everything was slipping. His business, his home, his stability, and still no settlements. No equipment money from Jeff, no check from Mrs. S. Elizabeth swore Lauren was still on it, but at this point, Andrew told her he was taking control of the finances. No more frivolous spending. Every dollar would go towards buying a home. By April, a realtor friend of Elizabeth's, known in Andrew's series as Lindsay, began showing them properties, and the process went pretty smoothly. They found a place quickly, got approved with a closing date in early June. For the first time in a while, things were looking up. To celebrate, they booked an Airbnb beach getaway for Liz's birthday, which was a much-needed reset and reprieve. You already know. It couldn't last long, or we wouldn't be here. After the trip, Andrew noticed $5,000 missing from his work bag, and when he told Elizabeth, she said she remembered her daughter playing around the bag and suggested maybe it fell out and was left somewhere at the Airbnb. She followed up with the host, who came back saying they'd found it.
Elizabeth, there were a couple things left in the home. There was a bag of cash with about $1,000 in it. There's also a check and a medication container. It's empty though. We got it from the home and I can ship it for you. Overnight it, or you can come and get it Thursday. I will be in Treasure Island again.
Okay, I will come on Thursday. I don't want it lost in the mail. Thank you so incredibly much. Are you able to make sure there was no cash left behind also? We think there's more than that there.
I was able to count it. I didn't count it at first, just a glance. I didn't want to get into the bag. There is a total of $2,880. Sorry for the misinformation. I will contact you Thursday morning to meet. To answer your previous question, it was found under the couch in the master room.
Thank you so much. Talk to you Thursday.
I didn't end up making it out there yet, but we'll be there Sunday before 6 p.m. and I will drop it off to you.
Thank you. Just keep me posted, please.
I sent you my location tracker via email.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. See you soon.
I am so sorry. I have tried to put it off and I was waiting on my husband to bring it. He was going to bring it and drive the 4 hours, but I am sorry. I will send you a photo of it. It's untouched and he's overnighting it to the address on your booking. Please don't leave me a bad review. I will make sure you have it by tomorrow. All my reviews are good and I will do anything to keep it that way. You have all the messages I would never steal.
I am not very happy about this. If I do not get this by tomorrow morning, I will go to the authorities. If you overnighted it, I should have it no later than 10 a.m.
At this point, Andrew's patience with flakiness and excuses was exhausted, and he took it upon himself to contact the police to report the host without informing Elizabeth. Armed with the exchange Elizabeth sent Andrew, the police contacted the host, who denied ever finding money. When Elizabeth found out Andrew had called the cops, she exploded and hung up on him. Later that day, a detective called Andrew and said the money would be returned. And it was. But months later, Andrew found the real message thread between Elizabeth and the host, and it wasn't even remotely the same conversation he had read.
Thank you. That works out perfect. Our flight got changed until tomorrow, so we will have to book a hotel and can't check in until after 4. So I appreciate that. We are finishing up to leave. We have a few trash bags, but there is no room in the trash can.
Can you leave the trash can next to the mailbox and you can put the rest of the bag inside the recycling bin? I'll transfer them tomorrow to the other one after the city picks up the trash in the morning.
Yes, my husband will. We are finished.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm in a partnership with Tampa Bay Travel. I loved this Airbnb so much, and I'm going to write about it in this month's blog. I'll send you the link, so check back on Friday and it should be posted. So if there's anything specific that you would like me to include when I write it up tomorrow, just let me know.
Thank you, Elizabeth, so much. I'm pretty sure you know exactly what to express. My only concern is small kids because not everyone is a responsible parent and just want the kids to be safe. But if you need anything, let me know. I'll be around.
Thank you. I'm a social media influencer with 1.4 million followers, and I was going to post a review of this place and share the ad if that's okay. I always like to ask before doing so.
I do feel like it's worth noting that though she one day would achieve that 1 million person following, this was a straight up lie. She had virtually no followers at this point, and one that doesn't even make sense since she wasn't wanting a discount or anything in return.
Of course, I can also offer you more discount and I will return $300 as courtesy for your post.
Oh no, that's okay. I do it just to do it. I don't need any money. But thank you. I just want to enjoy the rest of the trip. And I will post a great post online and send you the link once it's finished. It will have videos and things.
How can I find you so I have more people to follow you?
I never share my page until I leave, but as soon as I do, I will email you the link. It's on TikTok and Instagram. Once I do, I'll share the link. Heart. It's a mom travel blog page. We've loved this place so much. So I'll post nice things, I promise. LOL.
I understand. You got my cell phone. If you need it to stay another time, text me or call me. This person is claiming to be your husband, and he is a doctor. I'm at the police station. I don't know if I'll be arrested, but this is the craziest thing to ever happen to me. I'm waiting on an attorney and everything. Is your husband's name Andrew?
Oh my, can you call me so I can straighten this out?
Let me wait for the officer who is investigating the case in front of me.
What is the officer's name? Which police station?
His name is Constable Daniels. I don't know if the spelling is correct, but I'll have him call you or contact you through this app. I'm outside waiting for an attorney, but I was advised that this is a civil case, not criminal case, so I should be okay without an attorney. I'm just waiting for the police officer to get here.
I just spoke with him on the phone and he said that he's going to call you, that he was dropping it all because it was a big mistake. Please let me know right away that that's fine for you. If myself or my husband need to call him back, we will. I'm worried now. I will call him again to make sure that you're okay.
Despite the mountain of questions, they pushed on and were looking forward to the upcoming move from the grandparents' house and into their new home. As the closing date crept closer, and Andrew still hadn't received a response to the emails he'd sent about the final documents, he decided to follow up with Lindsay via text. Her reply? Confused. She had no idea what he was talking about.
Hey, sorry to text so late. Did you get my email I sent over today?
I'm sorry, I don't seem to have this number saved. Who is this?
Andrew Cormier. It's about the house we are closing on next month.
Oh, sorry, Liz told me you got rid of this number, so I deleted it. I don't have any emails from you. I just checked.
So, Realtor Lindsay at this is a fake email. For the sake of this podcast series.com, isn't your email?
No, not one I've owned.
I was just seeing what the latest is with the closing. Are we all good to move in?
I'm a bit confused. You guys weren't under contract. It closed April 3rd to another family. I've been making myself available every Friday since, and things just haven't worked out to see more properties. But literally any day you are free, I can be. I think Liz probably didn't want to disappoint you while we try to find something else. Things just haven't gone according to plan because of treatment.
No worries, I feel better. I was so confused the last couple weeks.
The house they were supposed to be closing on sold a month prior. Andrew confronted Elizabeth, who happened to be sitting with her grandmother at the time, and instead of an explanation, she stormed off and slammed the door. Later on, she did claim that the financing fell through and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. Although it was a disappointment to lose the one that they had their hearts set on, Lindsay said she could take them out and look at more. I have the same questions I'm sure many of you listening have too. How many red flags can you ignore? While only Andrew can answer that when it comes to his personal experience and decisions, I will say that I am seeing in real time how impactful her words and manipulation is to those who want to believe her. As we said in the last episode, she has a way about her. She has an answer for everything, and it most often reverts back to it's not all her fault. There's a reason for the deception. That summer, still at Liz's grandparents', Andrew said there was somewhat of a peaceful stretch. Until 4th of July came around. Andrew wanted to take the kids to see the fireworks, but Liz said she couldn't go. She already had plans to go out with friends. From there, the late night outings increased. More dinners without him and the kids, and a lot of late night Target runs. Her social life was surprisingly active for a new mom with stage 4 cancer. There was even a sudden new medical emergency that she told Andrew she needed to have a procedure on her spine for. Despite the never-ending emotional whiplash, Andrew wanted to be Elizabeth's strength and support. And when she said she didn't want anybody to go to the hospital with her, he pushed back, reassuring her that she didn't have to do things alone anymore, and he wanted to be there for her. On the day of the procedure, she had what he described as a full-blown panic attack and begged him to just go golfing instead. So he did. A few hours later, she called and said she was done and would Uber to meet him. She arrived, loopy, with some bandages, but Andrew said she didn't seem like somebody who had just had a procedure. It was more like somebody who had hit up at happy hour. The next day, he called the facility, introduced himself as her husband, and asked if she needed follow-up care or antibiotics. They searched their patient history and told him they had no record of her. Andrew hung up the phone with a pit in his stomach, and in those moments of reflection, he started combing through old emails. He needed answers, and boy did he get them. The computer sitting in front of him was just about to expose every lie she ever told him. On the next episode of e-LIES-abeth.
So I'm on the verge of everything being filed to where she's going to be served.
He had 2 children, the 2 little girls that he has that were her stepchildren, one of which was from a stripper. Now, mind you, none of this is true, by the way.
It was just always a revolving door of like, oh, excuses.
I had the cameras in there for about a week before she found them and then destroyed them.
Don't put video cameras in my house.
The justice system not supporting someone that is going through something like this. I'm not sure what they're used for then. I have so much more to say and so much more to uncover, and I'm going to use my voice to do exactly that.